Welcome to Segra Field in Leesburg, Virginia for a rematch of the NWSL Championship last year. It's the Washington Spirit and the Chicago Red Stars. Of course, it was Washington that defeated Chicago in extra time 2-1, the final score last year. And the Spirit were able to hoist that NWSL trophy for the first time in team history. So Chicago, I'm sure, a little bit of a revenge factor here. This is the first time these two teams will meet this season. Interestingly enough, they will actually play again in 7 days. So this is going to be an interesting first test for both sides against each other, and then they'll have to do it all over again next Wednesday. Of course, that game is going to be in Chicago, and the reason that's happening is because there was a postponement due to the Challenge Cup. All right, here we go in white. That's Chicago, and in blue, that's a home side in the Spirit. I'm Maura Sheridan, glad to have you along with us on the international feed today. Again, we're at Segra Field, not Audi Field, which is, interestingly enough, where, Washington had been playing the majority of the time up until this point, and now they will play 5 of their next 6 matches here in Leesburg, which is about 40 minutes away from Washington, D.C. Almer, back to Karina Rodriguez. Here's Sonnet. So because of injuries and a midweek game, we've seen a lot of shifts in the starting lineup for both teams. But I want to start by what's relevant here, that Rodriguez, it appears, is playing right back for Washington. I wasn't sure exactly how they would line up because Helferty is obviously where she typically is, and then Staub is always a center back, and so is Sonnet. So I figured that's where Rodriguez would be. But the thing is, Rodriguez was playing center back during the Challenge Cup when Emily Sonnet was out. Here comes Chicago. Off a cross, Rodriguez sends it back to Aubrey Kingsbury. Of course, you always feel pretty good if you're Washington and you have Kingsbury in net. She has been so solid for Washington this year and, throughout her whole NWSL career. But it is tough because Washington, like I mentioned, missing a bunch of players, but probably most notably, Kelly O'Hara is out. And so they're just trying to fill that void in the back line, and that's not an easy thing to do. Kelly O'Hara is just an incredible defender, and she actually scored the game winner in the championship last year as her first regular season goal, so she's had a lot of success against Chicago as well. Actually, not regular season, playoff goals, her first goal, period, last year in that championship match. Washington on the attack, quickly swiped back here for the Chicago side. Nagasato comes up and receives. The back has been very solid for Chicago, and they've been dealing with injuries too, but that is not one of the changes today. Morse, Sharples, Milazzo typically make up that back line for the Red Stars, and like I said, that hasn't changed. In fact, that trio has played every minute of the regular season. Attacking the 18, off a cut, and Kingsbury dives. Now, Malpew is not in the starting lineup for the Red Stars. That doesn't mean we won't see her today. Once again, of course, it's a Wednesday night match, and these two teams played this weekend, and so, you have to factor that in rest-wise if you're either coach, and so it appears that Pugh will probably come in for the final 45, depending on if they need her or not. That's sort of been the case for Pugh, as she is still working her way back from a concussion. It hasn't really slowed her down whatsoever. She has 3 goals in 2 games played in the regular season to go along with an assist as well. Long ball trickles back to Kingsbury. Sonnet, Karina Rodriguez. Again, it was Rodriguez and Amber Brooks. They were rotating in as the center backs to pair along with Staub in the Challenge Cup, and then once Sonnet got back, it was a typical back line for Washington. Now Rodriguez getting another start. So this is not her first start with Washington. Chicago's mixed up a lot of players today. You see Stevens, she's a typical player out. Pass intended to her. In the box, Rodriguez intercepts. Moving quickly, cutting through. Pass behind Ashley Hatch. You see Sanchez, of course, for Washington. But yeah, Chicago has Rachel Hill, who's kind of, with a lot of the injuries, been, you know, in and out of the starting lineup. She's in there. Griffith, you'll see Sarah Griffith in. Jill Aguilera gets her first start today with Chicago. And then Sam Fisher does as well. Trinity Rodman coming off a goal in her last match against Orlando. First regular season score off across to Hatch, and it's over her head. That's obviously a very dangerous moment there because Rodman has done such a great job of finding her teammates this year. And you never want to see Hatch in the box at all. Hatch has 3 goals this year. That is the most of any Spirit player. And actually led the Challenge Cup for the Spirit with 6 as well. So, I mean, just an incredible start for Hatch, who's surprised. She's got 24 career goals with Washington, and that is the most of any player in history for the Spirit. Milazzo has it ripped away just for a second. Back with Milazzo, Rodman guarding. Aguilera. That's Sharples, now Morse. Surveys, looking for options. One touch wide. Here's a service in over the head of Stevens. Rodriguez. Rodman. Aguilera with the tackle there. Puts that one her in Chicago. Again, it's just kind of been a slow start to the season for Washington. They're 1-1-3. 3 ties. That was sort of a bit of an issue in the Challenge Cup as well, just not getting decisions, not getting wins, getting a lot of ties. They ended up with 4 in the group stage of the Challenge Cup as well. We see Rodder slow to get up, got some help from Trinity Rodman. It is Washington ball. Here's some pressure. Kingsbury. It's on it. Rodriguez. Tough header. Goes out in front of Aguilera. It's been 3 straight ties for Washington. And obviously you get a point, so it's not the end of the world. And Washington is still very much in the mix. I mean, really, everybody is in the NWSL at this point. And while they sit at 9th in the current standings, they can jump pretty far with a win today or, you know, stringing together a couple of wins. They put themselves in a great spot. But I think that most recent tie against Orlando, that draw, is one that they would love to have back because in talking to Chris Ward, head coach for the team, he said, simply put, we played 95 great minutes of soccer, and then we played 3 bad minutes of soccer, and that was a difference in the game. Almost a mishap there. Rodriguez races towards it. Back to Kingsbury. You can see Sam Fisher hungry to make something happen here for Chicago. Griffith. Elmer intercepts. Hill on the right side. Trying to play it in the box. Hatch denying every step. Hatch, look at this defense from Ashley Hatch. There's a chance, and Stevens heads it home. Ella Stevens, what a look. 1-0 Chicago.
Chicago Red Stars goal in the 10th minute.
That's Stevens' second regular season goal. And it happens in the opening 10 minutes of play, not even. And really, just look at this defense from Hatch. Just pushes Hill out. And yet, Hill has the wherewithal to see a cutter. And that's, a wonderful service. And I love that celebration from Stevens. Nagasato. Aguilera. Fisher ahead to Hill off the bounce, charging forward. Takes a shot, Hill, and a save by Kingsbury off her fingertips and out. I don't think Kingsbury is very happy with the defense there for Washington, but you can see Hill just scored against Portland. Cuts it back on Helferty, lets it rip, and Kingsbury, of course, with the denial. But how about Chicago coming out red hot? Again, they kind of have something to prove. It was an absolute heartbreaking fashion in which they lost it last year in extra time in the championship game. Both these teams had to go through Portland or OL Reign, you know, two more experienced teams on paper to get to the championship game, and they did that. And then it was very evenly matched, and again, it came down to O'Hara from Rodman. Off a corner, Chicago will do it again. There's Stevens, has a difference in this one. Through the air this time, we got a foul before anything, as Hatch was pushed down in the 18. Yeah, Chris Ward, I mean, he said that after that Orlando game, Ashley Hatch was the one to talk to her teammates and, you know, put a positive spin on it, but, you know, still just talk about all the lessons that can be learned, because what happened to Washington was pretty shocking. We're up 2-0 going into stoppage time, a boatload of stoppage time in that match. Ended up being 8+ minutes. And in the 95th minute, Michaela Clough scored for Orlando, cut the lead in half, and you're thinking, all right, I mean, ruins a shutout, but not the end of the world. And then all of a sudden, Orlando scores again. It's Darian Jenkins in the 98th minute. It's the latest goal in NWSL history. And Washington just gets out with a point. And obviously, it seemed like they were going to get out with 3 points. It was incredible from Orlando. And, you know, if you're a fan of the NWSL, Jordan Listro is a local Orlando player that got signed with the team, and she really did have a foot in that first goal, and then the second one kind of made something happen as well. But it was just pure chaos for Washington, and it's hard to bounce back from something like that, and they're trying to do it here against Chicago. Now down 1. Sanchez to Rodman, off a cross behind Hatch. Nagasato. Stevens gets tripped up. Play on. Sonnet. Sanchez. Almer. Rodriguez in the middle, tangled up. Rodder is fouled. DiBernardo commits. And with such a young crew out there for Chicago, you know, and Washington, but DiBernardo certainly and Nagasato are very, very key to what this Chicago team is trying to do, because I don't think that a team of just all rookie, second, third-year players works when you have players like Nagasato and DiBernardo who are extremely talented and willing to buy in and play a role with someone like Malpew on your roster and players like Stevens, etc., it's incredibly helpful, and I think we've seen that with Chicago, who's 2-1-1 on the year. Sanchez over the head of Hatch. Pretty good curl on that one. Maybe just a little too much juice and it goes out. I do think Washington's had some slightly mistimed opportunities, which is good for the future of this game on the Spirit side. They just got to capitalize on them. Otherwise, it's not like they haven't been able to break down this Chicago defense whatsoever. Rodman on her feet. Sanchez trying to make something happen. Hatch. Defense collapses. Sharples all over it. Through the air. Hits Morse. Harding trying to get it back for Washington, but it's cleared out for a second. Now Staub reinserts here. Almer. Through pass doesn't connect. Morse intercepts. Helferty, though, with a pickup. Again, over 15 minutes into this one, 1-0. In the 10th minute, Ella Stevens scored her second regular season goal of the year for Chicago. Here comes Rodman, recently turned 20. Can't get through. Nagasato with a little chip. And that's aggressive play there from Sonnet, who, of course, with all of her NWSL international experience, is very crucial for Washington to have back. And when they're in full strength, with O'Hara, it's really hard to get past that group. They just haven't really been at full strength much. Tatum Milazzo, Alyssa Nair, haven't talked about her yet, but I mean, this is a battle of two extremely talented keepers. Of course, Alyssa Nair can just go through all the stats that she has, but 33 career shutouts, I think, is probably the most notable one for Nair. And I'm sure she feels some type of way about how her season ended last year. It was extremely unfortunate, of course, in the Olympics. Such an honor, such a life-changing moment. She got injured in the Olympics, of course, while being the keeper for the United States team, and then ended up missing the remainder of the NWSL season. So when her team made that run to the championship game, she didn't play. So she didn't play against Washington. Sanchez to Hatch! It appears like that was waved off. Ward is pretty furious because, we'll have to see it again if we can, but honestly, it was a game of inches, it appeared. Now, that's the thing about Sanchez, Hatch, Rodman, is they can make something happen so quickly. And that chemistry that they have is really top-notch in the league. Here's Rodman in the box. Cuts back. Rodman. Nair denies. What a stop by Alyssa Nair. And that's what I mean about the keeper showdown here, because that is point blank. And what a move by Rodman, honestly. Cuts back. She has a wide open shot, and Nair just says no. Well, this last stretch, looking for the equalizer on the Washington side, has been very dangerous. They've come ever so close multiple times. We'll see if that continues. Elmer. Sonnet. Nice stretch out there. Aguilera for Chicago. Griffith. Back to Sonnet. Rodriguez. Elmer. Kingsbury. Almost a little bit chaotic there. Rodriguez. Washington's having some problems with this press. And then once they get it past the midfield line, it's obviously an issue. It's proven to be an issue for Chicago. But these forwards are doing a really solid job of not letting them find the seams. And of course, with a press like this, you just have to be extremely patient. Easier said than done, I know. But this is kind of what teams have been doing to Washington. I mean, that's sort of been, I guess it dates back to Oil Rain in the semifinals of the Challenge Cup. Teams have started to do this, and I'm sure, you know, I'm going to hear from a team that is going to say they did it before that, but that's the one I remember. And then everybody's been doing a very similar thing against Washington. And once they break out, they break out. Here they come. Here's Rodman. Off a service, Nair with the leaping grab. Oh, I thought that would sneak through. All right, we're going to take another look, by the way, at this offside call against Hatch in what would have been a goal. From that angle, yeah. Let's see. Well, this is a Rodman's. I mean, she was very open. Definitely offside there for Rodman. This game feels very intense. And, you know, a lot of these players were with their respected teams last year. And I know there was a lot of movement in the NWSL, but not the case as much for these two sides. Of course, they were affected, but comparatively, there's a lot of returners. In fact, when you look at the Washington starting lineup from that championship game, there's not that many changes, and a lot of the players are still on the roster now. Whether or not they're hurt is, you know, a different story. And Chicago, similar thing. They have some injuries too. I mean, losing Davidson, Tierna Davidson, right away in the Challenge Cup to an ACL tear really hurt them mentally. That's what Chris Petroselli said at the beginning of the season, and she was, of course, a huge part in that championship run. But these teams don't forget, of course, and especially on the Chicago side, I mean, it's just, it's brutal to make it that far and not be able to pull it out. Nagasato off the touch. Petroselli wasn't the coach for Chicago, but Ward was the coach for Washington. He had taken over on an interim basis and, of course, then hired full-time by the Spirit, deservedly so, after you win a championship. Kayla Sharples, center back for Chicago. They were looking for a defender, and Sharples stepped up to the plate. I remember talking to Petroselli at the very beginning of the Challenge Cup, and he wasn't sure about her. And, I mean, she's totally stepped up to the plate for Chicago in the midst of injuries. And mentioned this prior, hasn't been taken out in the regular season. Helferty with the trip. Hill goes down. Let's see this. Yep. So a free kick for the Red Stars. 25th minute. Again, a 10th minute score from Ella Stevens. A beautiful header. DiBernardo will take this. see Fisher, Griffith, a ton of young players in for Chicago. Here's a kick through the air. Kingsbury with the simple grab. Wants to move quickly. Again, they know this press is coming. Rodriguez, Rodman. Staub. Kingsbury again. There's a takeaway. Here comes Chicago. A shot and it goes wide. That's off the leg of Fisher. Decent look there for Chicago, and again, that's when that press shines through. And it's interesting, Washington has seen it so much, but different teams are putting a different spin on it, and it's been pretty effective against Washington. Fisher with that rip. Not an easy shot to actually get on frame when you're going full speed ahead. But if you're Chicago, up 1-0 right now on Washington, you love the effort. Milazzo trying to blow by the defense, gets shoved out by Rodriguez. Rodman helps to get it back. Sonnet, Rodriguez. Back to Sonnet. These two sides have had a lot of battles over the years, and it's been pretty even. Washington's won 11 times and Chicago's won 10 times, and they've come to a draw 5 times in team history. Another takeaway. Aguilera. Sanchez. One-timer by Rotter, unsuccessful. Sharples switches fields. Stevens. Left for Hill. Stop trying to get back. Service bounces at the beginning of the 18, and there's a shot from Aguilera. Not too bad, all things considered. It does go wide. Again, I said this before, but Aguilera getting her first start with Chicago this season. And it does seem like Kingsbury had that covered, but you can see momentum shifting a little bit. Chicago's gotten a couple of swipes, and now they've been able to get 2 decent looks off in a row. Kingsbury. Staub. Stevens. Again, looking for a mistake. Staub. Beautiful touch from Rotter. Flings it forward for Hatch, which is always a good thing. Read extremely well by Morse, and Hatch commits a foul. Aguilera. Nagasato. Morse. Staub. Clean. Nifty footwork. Rodriguez. Off the middle. I think that was intended for Rodman. Didn't get there, obviously. Griffith with the cutback. Blazing forward. Rotter definitely pulled a jersey. Absolutely did. And this is going to be a great spot for a free kick on Chicago's side. Rotter's going to get a card. Again, you could kind of see that pretty obviously as Griffith goes down. That's the first card that we've seen tonight. And again, it goes against Rotter.
A yellow card caution has been issued to Spirit number 16, Julia Rotter, in the 30th minute.
Griffith looks like a little bit slow to get up here. Yeah, you could see the, I think it was even before that of what we just showed in the replay. It was the tug of the jersey that'll get you. Referee today is Adam Kilpatrick. All right, Stevens already has one. From Ella Stevens, way up into the stands. Looks like kind of some luxury seating at Segra Field. Again, Leesburg, Virginia, Washington, Chicago. See that again, yeah, it's the before. This is going to be a hydration break for both sides. It is not a cold day in Washington. Temperatures in the 90s, and so, you know, obviously they're going to allow for players to take a breather, get some water, and that's going to be, I think, a staple of the NWSL season from now on, because most of these places are going to start to get really hot, really humid, etc. Stats for you so far in this match. Shots have been 5-3 in favor of Chicago. And the Red Stars have 2 shots on goal compared to 1 for Washington. But everything else has been, you know, fairly even. In fact, Washington has more possession time. And you see that Stevens goal, I mean, it happened very quickly in this game. Hill with the cutback. Like I said, she was having so many problems. It seemed like Hatch was really going to win that battle. And Hill just sends it out. This is a beautiful play off the left foot, and Stevens with the header. And if you're Chicago, you just want to hang on here for the last, 15 minutes, take this lead into halftime, and then who knows what happens if Petroselli opts to, sub in Malpew or not. All right, Kingsbury will have this here for Washington, playing from behind. Again, first regular season match between the two sides. They'll play again in a week. Kingsbury, Stevens all over Sonnet. Nagasato commits a foul. Sanchez goes down. Nagasato, a fan favorite back in Chicago for leadership, for personality, etc. Found out today, and I think that many NWSL fans know this, but I will mention it. Found out that she is a drummer in a band, Nagasato, and she actually first started out piano, then went to keys in this band, and then moved to learning the drums, all within a couple of years. I mean, she always played keys / piano, but she just learned the drums pretty recently. Now she's playing in a band. Here's a chance. Griffith takes a shot and looks like Staub got in front of that one. Sonnet was back for Washington as well. Boy, there's been a lot of exciting opportunities for both sides. And, I do think that the shots number isn't really going to tell the story of the game so far, because maybe there hasn't been incredible shots, but both teams are finding the gaps in each other's defenses. Here's Rodman off the one touch, plays it back. Breaking ankles. Blows by Aguilera. Deflection there, calm and collected is Milazzo. Wow, what a moment from Rodman. And then again, just credit to Milazzo, got back and got in front of that. Sonnet. Roder and Nagasato entangled. Nagasato earns the foul. Again, Roder already has a yellow card, so she does have to be a little bit careful here. Hill against Helferty, a bouncer to Kingsbury. And now should us wait. Kingsbury was goalkeeper of the year last season in the NWSL. Of course, won a title with Washington. She's also earning her MBA right now. Shenandoah is the name of the college, and they actually have a program with the Spirit School in Virginia where you can take classes if you're a player on the Washington Spirit for free. So that is what Kingsbury is doing, taking advantage of that program. She says it's not particularly easy to be playing professional soccer and taking classes, but you know, since they're free, she wanted to jump on that opportunity. And of course, there's a huge life for these players outside of soccer and after soccer. As we see this Rodman. She's got a long soccer career to go, Rodman, just 20, but that's incredible stuff. You almost wish that there was a better shot, but like I said, Milazzo just played that very nicely. Sharples. Helferty with the touch, now on the left wing. Bounces it in, Harding. Now in the air, Sharples put it up there. Everybody looking for possession. Out to Sanchez. Nice tackle by Nagasato. Almer. Rodriguez. Punches it forward over the head of Hatch. This is not breaking news, but often that is what Washington is trying to do. Service it into Hatch. We saw a goal that was called back because Hatch was offside be a very similar thing. And Rodman was just crossing it into Hatch. Hatch technically, you know, she did find the back of the net, but it didn't count. And that was the correct call by Kilpatrick based on the replay that we saw. Nagasato, lots of green. You can see the kits, blue kits collapsing in on her. To Milazzo and Sharples. And Chicago has been holding on to this lead since the 10th minute of play. They do have a weapon in their back pocket, that's Malpew. Griffith, not on the same page with Stevens. Kingsbury. Staub. Nagasato back for Chicago. Here's a chance. Griffith, Kingsbury just takes control. That had bobble and score all over it, and Kingsbury just ever so crisp. Here's Rodman, Trinity Rodman, looking for a cross, deflected off. Nair races out and covers. Hatch got a little tangled up with DiBernardo on the other side. can hear what Washington fans think about that. Now, I would have to take another look at this because obviously you're very concerned about the ball in this moment, but Rodman moves to the right, 2 defenders, and that's a beautiful tackle. And obviously heads up play by Nair to just go get that. Cut off there. That's Harding. Harding is just with her, or excuse me, she was just signed by the Washington team May 1st. Again, they've been dealing with some injuries. She was drafted by Washington, but officially signed. And now she's been, playing a lot for the Spirit. So I'm interested to see what happens once they start to get healthy because, Ward has leaned on her a lot. Staub denies the Griffith attack. Rodriguez. Kingsbury. Still with Kingsbury. What a touch from Rodman. Sanchez taking off. Looking for Hatch. A little bit behind her. Again, Sharples got in front for Chicago. I love that sequence, though, even though it didn't work out for Washington. Just so patient, working it around. It starts with Kingsbury, again, just a professional back there for Washington, and she helps that back line work it around, see what's open, and then Rodman with that touch, Sanchez looking for Hatch. I mean, that's what you want if you're Washington. At some point, you feel like it will work out. As a foul is called, it's going to go against Staub, it appears. No, I think it will go against Stevens for Chicago. Both are shaken up. They're going to check on each other because no malice here. But yeah, that's definitely going to go against Stevens. Did not realize that she got stopped right in the face, I think, with that kick. And Stevens might have gotten some follow through there as well. But definitely Staub got the brunt of that one, and the foul deservedly called on Stevens. Staub is not, she's played every regular season minute for Washington. She's the only player to do so. Field player. Almer. Sanchez with a little hesitation. Does bounce off Aguilera. Rodriguez, Sanchez. Trying to break through. Does. Playing with it a little bit, and Griffith gets it right back. Look at this race. Almer, Fisher. Almer was signed by Washington last year after being a replacement player with Gotham. Played a lot of the Challenge Cup. And she's a fun story, Almer, too, because she was undrafted. And so just really through hard work and perseverance has made her way as a real role player with this Washington Spirit side. And what a team to be a part of. There's a lot of superstars. Aguilera. Heading towards the end of this half. Hill. Centers. Milazzo. One time back. Stevens. Aguilera off to the other side. Fisher. Morse. DiBernardo. Little through pass to Hill. Three minutes of stoppage time coming up here in the first half. It's not a whole lot.
Fourth official has indicated that there will be a minimum of 3 minutes added to the half.
Nagasato. Stevens. You can hear the Chicago side saying no rush, no rush, no rush, because there simply is not. The last thing you want to do is rush a play at the end of the half and let someone like Hatch get away with it, especially with this forward group that Washington has. They will make you pay for a mistake like that. And we've seen them knock on the door of a goal and just don't have one yet. Does go out. Spirit ball. About 2 minutes left in this half. To Rodman. Ooh, a nasty collision there with Milazzo as Rodman. So Milazzo's gonna get a card and Rodman is immediately down right now, and you could hear that. And I don't think it was particularly nasty by Milazzo, but at the same time, that's a very dangerous play. And that is a card, because that was you could hear that crunch for Rodman, and you see the concern on the Washington player's face, as Rodman is a crucial part of this. Oh, I see. All right, I don't even think I knew exactly the extent of this, but it's really a body shot, so I'm not sure exactly what's hurt for Rodman, but just the awkward way she fell is really concerning on the Washington side. And she immediately went down, and again, Milazzo gets a card for that one, and you can see how upset the Washington side is. They are very concerned. I mean, obviously, and defensive of one of their best players, and you know, Rodman's only 20 years old, but she's a huge part of what Washington is trying to do. And still, I think, considered a bit of a leader on this Spirit side. Hopefully she'll be all right, as she is sitting up here. Get a really scary moment with Washington. Let's see. So each side has a card, and Rodman will get up, and it looks like she's gonna play on. And that's great to see, because again, with the way that happened and her whole body kind of falling down, you're not really sure what exactly was wrong there, and it's just never good when someone immediately goes down like that. And you do see the love from the Washington side that they have for Trinity Rodman. That was clear based on that reaction. I'm glad to see she's all right. Trying to make something happen. Rodriguez. Goes off Milazzo. Stab will come up. Just checking on Rodman in the process as well. You just never know with these games, but it does seem like this could be the final push of the first half. You see the Washington fans very into it. Sanchez gets a deflection. We'll do that corner again. searching for the equalizer. Perhaps a little chip on Washington's shoulder after that yellow card against Milazzo. Something to prove here. So down 1-0. Staub again to Sanchez. Cuts through. Sanchez with her left foot, and it goes off the post. Rodman tracks down the rebound. Through the air, off a couple bodies for Chicago. Aguilera sends it out, and that's the final whistle of the first half. Excitement on both ends. Washington had some pretty good chances, including that last one off the post. However, it's Ella Stevens and her goal in the 10th minute, her header home. That's the difference in this one. Chicago is up 1-0 at the halftime break. We'll see what subs come in or don't come in for either side, as we are, you know, in a hyped up game, defending champions versus the team that they beat in the championship. We knew this was going to be an exciting one, and I think it's living up to that hype. We'll take a break and be back for the second half after this.
In-stadium incidents, or if you need assistance, please text 202-655.
Tell them you're available, Emma. Right? How much do they pay?
They know there isn't water, right?
Started, because they just gotta let us know that they're ready.
Welcome back as we start the second half between Washington and Chicago. It is a 1-0 lead right now for the road side in the Chicago Red Stars. Ella Stevens scored in the 10th minute, and right now that's been the only score we've seen. Not for lack of opportunity, especially towards the very end. It seemed like Washington had something in their back pocket, but unable to actually find the back of the net. Both teams pretty even shots, 6-5 in Chicago's favor, and then shots on target are both 2. So we'll see if anything changes here in the second half. Washington will start with the ball.
Substitution at the half. Leaving the game, number 10, Vanessa DiBernardo. Entering the game, number 25, Ava Cook. Leaving the game, number 18, Sam Fisher. Entering the game, number 9.
So Chicago has made a bunch of subs as we suspected. Ava Cook will come in, Mal Pugh will come in as well. And then Colaprico as well. Here's Trinity Rodman. Sanchez flings one, hits the crossbar. Second chance, out of trouble. Boy, oh boy, that was a great look. It seems like out of the gate, Washington is hungry. All right, here's a corner though. Question is, who's going to take it for Washington? As again, I'll just mention that again, but Colaprico, Malpew, and Ava Cook are coming in for Chicago. Those are, you know, kind of players we expected to be subbed in because it's a midweek game, and most teams midweek don't play everybody their typical, you know, starting 11, 90 minutes. A whiff there on a potential clearance. Rotter. And that one lofted to Nair. The question is, did that hit Nagasato in the arm? I didn't have a great look at it. It seems to be what Washington fans were thinking. Here's Malpew, first real touches of the game. Off a cross, Hill on the right side, Pugh on the left. Bounced off Staub. Washington also made one sub as they send in a typical starter as well. Andy Sullivan will come in and Elmer will come out. Griffith onside. Slices back. Decent shot from Griffith. And it goes out. Take another look at this. Nice move. Tough angle. And honestly, it was pretty close. Griffith has been really solid for Chicago. In the last couple of games, again, she actually scored against Orlando in the very beginning of that match. It was her first goal of her NWSL career. Petroselli said, you know, he's really happy, you know, just to find her drafted out of Purdue in Indiana. It's one of the first players out of that school to ever be picked in the draft. There's a clear shove in the back from Harding. Colaprico goes down. And now with some of, you know, the heavy hitters in the game for both sides, I imagine, and with the score that we have too, and the history, this game might pick up in chippiness. Remember, there's a couple of players with cards. Milazzo is playing with a yellow card. Before I talk about that, let's talk about Trinity Rodman racing up that right side. Cuts in the box, takes a shot, and it soars over the crossbar. So Milazzo has a card, and so does Rotter, so one for each side. That was a rocket, but again, a really tough angle for Rodman. And I don't know if that came off weird or if she was taking a shot rather than trying a service to Hatch. Remember, Rodman got a little bit banged up, and that's what led to the card against Tatum Milazzo. Definitely a illegal, you know, tackle put on by Milazzo through the air. It was a pretty physical play. Rodman crunched down, and she looks good to go. Here's Malpew trying to make something happen. Pugh denied. Kingsbury says no. Pugh's right behind her. You got to keep your head on a swivel with Malpew. I mean, this is what the NWSL is all about. It's so fun to watch players like Rodman and Sanchez and Hatch, Kingsbury, go up against Nair and Malpew and Ellis Stevens and all these players that we're so excited about now. I mean, they're peaking now, but I mean, their future is extremely bright. We don't know the ceiling of a lot of these players, and that is just such an exciting time to be a part of. And then they go head to head in games like this. It's just, it's hard not to be kind of nerdy excited about it. Nair. Colaprico wide to Sharples. Hill. Andy Sullivan. Hatch gets an interception. Doesn't get a great shot off. Milazzo with a nice defensive play there because Sharples committed that turnover and it looked like that was going to be a goal, or at least a very good shot from Hatch. Instead, the Chicago defense that has been doing a great job against Washington. Gets back just in time. Sanchez to Hatch. Starts, stops. Up to Sanchez. Back to Hatch. Helferty. Time it out. No one there. Rodriguez keeps it in. Now Staub trying to get back to that attacking third. Again, Washington down 1-0 at home. Rodman again with the moves. Sanchez. Colaprico. Back for Chicago. Left for Pugh. Dangerous there. Kingsbury punches it out because Pugh was right in front of her. And again, like I say with Pugh, the last thing you want to do is not know where she is. Pugh has 3 goals and an assist in 2 games played this season. I was just reading at halftime, Just Women's Sports, which is a great source of, coverage for women's sports, but soccer in the NWSL. They put out their best, 11 players of the month of May, and Pugh was on that list, and I wouldn't disagree at all. It's just funny because she's only played 2 games and, not even the full 90 minutes. But had 2 goals against Orlando, and then just scored against Portland as well in what was ultimately a 2-2 draw for Chicago. Ricochets off Nagasato. Sanchez. Push wide. Rodman surveys. To Harding, the touch would have been tough. On a great angle once again. Fans at Segra Field, again, it's Leesburg, Virginia, and this will be their home for 5 of their next 6 matches on the Washington side for Chris Ward and company. They will go to Audi Field a couple of times throughout the course of the year. They'll actually finish, ooh, why can't I speak right now? Finish the regular season there. Hatch. Sonnet. Rodriguez. Rodman. Bunch of R's there. Spirit trying to break the pattern. Mentioned all their draws this season. 3 already. Just 1 win and 1 loss, and that 1 win happened a long time ago in the very first game of the regular season, and this is trouble. Pugh is down. Fell a little awkwardly. She got fouled, and now kind of crawling to get back up. Looks like she's all right. But if you count the Challenge Cup games, it's been 6 matches without a win for Washington. Ooh, yeah, just clipped in the ankle. There's a roller, easily played for Kingsbury. Ava Cook for Chicago. Another bright spot, has a goal this year for the Red Stars. And, without Pugh, it's difficult for Chicago. And I think there's a lot of question marks of how they would respond. They responded pretty well. And today they're playing without Bianca St. George, and so they're not even really full strength. And St. George is a great complement to what Stevens and Pugh are trying to do. Nair. Hatch coming up. Malazzo. Header from Hill. Griffith turns, trying to square. Splits the D, gets a little tangled up, stumbles on the ball. Rodder with Sullivan. Get it right back for Washington. Harding. Helferty. Again, Griffith just looks really good. She lost it, gets it right back, doesn't give up on the play. Now here's Pugh. 2 defenders swarm Pugh. That one bounces off. Sullivan is there to clean it up. Staub still in the box. And both these teams, I'm sure they're a little bit tired. I mean, these midweek games are not easy, especially when you played that weekend. You know, this is the time where, you know, teams are dealing with injuries and, you know, just trying to overcome that, and everybody's got a couple more games till the international break in June. You really just see about the mentality of a team at this point in the season. Rodman doesn't break down the defense, and now it floats to Rodriguez. Sullivan had a PK in the championship game for Washington last year. There's Rodman in the box. Flies that one into the stands. You could see Hatch, and obviously I'm not a lip reader, but she just motioned something to Rodman, probably just to make a little bit of a change on the next play that they have together. But it just seems like so many good things happen for Washington, starting from Sanchez to Rodman and then potentially to Hatch. I mean, when those three get a touch, I almost feel like you can guarantee a goal. Cook gets taken out. Helferty commits a foul. The only match going on in the NWSL today, so, you know, standing wise, these two teams could really make a dent. Chicago 7th, Washington is 9th. You just go through the standings, there's really not a big gap between anybody. Pugh knocks that off Sonnet. You know, Ward was saying that he feels like the best matchup in the NWSL against Mal Pugh is Kelly O'Hara, who is not available for Washington today. Here's Pugh towards the back post. Kingsbury, through some contact from Hill, gets the pickup. Weird moment there. Griffith and Hatch both go down. They'll just say play on. Excuse me, that's Colaprico for Chicago. Rodman, Sullivan. Too far ahead of Rodman. Nair. Still a long ways to go in this one. Over a half an hour if you include stoppage time. Staub pokes it out. Pugh, Nagasato, Colaprico in the middle for Chicago. Out to Hill. Took a weird hop, so Helferty to Kingsbury. Helferty. Cook! Kingsbury denies. Boy, that was really, really lucky for Washington. Let's see this again. Helferty sends it to Kingsbury and then cuts it back right in the middle to, I guess, to Sonnet intended, but it didn't get there, not even close. And Cook luckily gets that right into the body of Kingsbury, who, I mean, you know, of all the keepers in the NWSL, I guess Washington is very thankful they have her back there, but it's not a position you want to put your keeper in. And she's been great, Kingsbury, and so is Nair. That goal from Stevens really just came from a beautiful service. Intended for Harding. Sharples, backtracks, gets it out. Staub, strong throw in. Rodman with the header. And we got a whistle prior to that. Rodman is very upset. See this again. Rodman. Sanchez. It looked like that was going to go wide, but then who knows what would have come from it. Sullivan. Nagasato collapse. There's a player down right now for Chicago. Does appear to be Griffith. And now we'll have a whistle because, you know, they can't allow this to go on with a player just down right in the middle of the field. And Hill's going to check on again, and that appears to be Griffith. Training staff out. I did not see what happened. I'll be fully transparent. It happened so quickly. Ooh, yeah. Any sort of, right, so any sort of head injury is an immediate call to the training staff. And so Griffith is sitting up, and that's good news. Like I said, I think Griffith has been a great addition to the Chicago team. Bit of a surprise. Both teams will get hydrated while they check on Griffith. It does appear.
Enter the game, number 11, Sarah Luber. Leave the game, number 15.
Yeah, so it does appear that Chicago is not going to take any chances, and Luber will come in. So this is a debut for Sarah Luber this season, was on loan, and now she's back with Chicago. So I don't know if they were planning on using her or not today, but she ultimately will come in here to replace Griffith. And just hopefully Griffith is okay, because again, any sort of head injury, you want to be very cautious. And again, here comes Lubert. You hear the Chicago bench. Luber was on loan with Club America since August of 2021. So she ended up scoring 9 goals for the club that is based in Mexico City. And they went to the playoffs with Luber. And now she's back with Chicago, having, you know, a whole new set of life experiences and soccer experiences. And they're very happy to have her back. And obviously, I don't know what role she'll play this year with Chicago, but it's just great to have options. And we haven't seen her this year, so we don't really know, but it's a great opportunity for Petroselli to kind of see where she's at in a game, but you hate to see it happen the way it did with Griffith going down. There's Lubert. Going for it with Helferty. Elbows Helferty, who goes down. For Hatch. The cross. Rodman tried to one-time it. No luck there, but she controls. Entering the area. Corner coming. We will see what Washington cooks up here. Again, down 1-0 at home to Chicago. From Staub, not enough air on that one. Aguilera. Staub on her back. To Pugh. Pugh bolting forward. Sees Hill. Lubert. Was offside, yes. And this has to be difficult for Chicago. I mean, this building that chemistry is not easy. So anytime you're adding new players to the mix, it's just something to think about. Rodman on the left now. Pass doesn't get through to Sanchez. Colaprico. Lubert off the referee in Kilpatrick. It is Chicago ball. Don't see that too much, but in a transition opportunity like that, of course, Chicago would have loved to get that pass through. Nobody's fault. It happens. Pugh. Circles. Off Sullivan. Colaprico. Nagasato. Sanchez. Rodman. Looking for a miscue. Helferty gets a touch. Swipes it from Hill. Now Sullivan. Harding. Wide. Hatch plays it forward. Intended for Sanchez. Milazzo for Chicago. Tackle there by Helferty. Chris Ward, pretty vocal coach, is a little frustrated right now. Sanchez. Hatch. Helferty. Staub. Sonnet. .20 or so minutes left. Washington and Chicago, again, a rematch of the championship game. Last year, Washington won. This time, they find themselves down 1-0. Helferty. Here she is again. Lubert. Nagasato. Sullivan. Look at that battle. Lubert's there to help out for Chicago. Rodman runs straight into Hill. Play on. Like I said, I mean, first of all, it's a one-goal game. there's some history. These teams are tired. Keep that in mind because they played this weekend. And, you know, both teams are just trying to get back in the win column. So there's going to be some physical play. Stop. Sonnet. Sanchez controls. Harding up the middle. Look at that by Sharples. Sanchez soars that one into the crowd. Look, I know Washington fans. Let's see this before I complete a thought. First of all, Harding trying to make something happen by herself. I don't know if she was undercut. I thought that's fairly clean from Sharples. And you know, credit to the Chicago defense. It's been hard to penetrate. Ooh, something off the ball just happened. Sharples is up, Sullivan's down. Here's a chance off Sharples, and Nair picks it up, but did she run out of play? Guess not. You can see Sharples is just a little bit banged up, and I can't see Sullivan, but I would assume neither player feels particularly good. Again, Sullivan coming back from injury. Was her first start against Orlando, the last game that Chicago played. Pugh. She's got Hill to her right. Takes it herself. And that one's out. See this again. Sure, not the look that Pugh wanted. And again, credit to Washington. I think they've done a pretty good job against Pugh, but it's not over. We will have a hydration break as well in this second half. So that will be a chance for these two sides to regroup, because you can tell, you know, a little bit gassed, and that'll happen right about now in a match. Especially one of this caliber. Rodriguez, Rodder, out on Hatch. And there's the whistle for that hydration break. So both sides will get some water, make a game plan, and see how we finish this out. Again, it is a 1-0 lead right now for Chicago. It has been at risk many times. So let's go through some stats. Washington has 14 shots now compared to 12 for Chicago. We'll take a look at one of them. There's Rodman. Again, just Nair has been great. Here's Rodman again. Cuts it back. This one from Nair was incredible. It really was, because once Rodman cuts back like that, to just, you know, stay on it so perfectly. And she made it look easy, but that's because her positioning was right. And then there's another look. I don't know, that's probably the closest one from Sanchez. It seems like it had the texture to go in, and it did not.
You got all three?
But yeah, Chicago does have more shots on target, 5-4. And when you look at expected goals, they're even. 1.1 per side. All right, so Goff, Elwell, and Feist will come in for Washington. Sanchez is going to come out. Harding will come out as well. And again, Elwell. So, 3 subs. Rodman is going to come out for Washington. I think with Ward right now, he's, seeing some potential fatigue with those players and, doesn't want to risk maybe them getting injured right now. So they're coming out. And again, with, we saw Chicago be able to sub in a lot of their starters later on in a midweek game, but Washington couldn't do that as much because they have, some big pieces injured. So again, they put in Goff. I mean, Bailey Feist, she'll start here and there with Washington. You see her right there. And then Elwell enters as well for the Spirit. Actually talked a little bit to Ward about, some of the younger players in that Orlando game. And I think he potentially might be testing them a little bit. He just wasn't, 100% happy with how that, well, to be expected, how that game played out in Orlando. And he felt like, he just was challenging some of the younger players to step up a little bit, especially defensively. So this will certainly be a challenge defensively with Pugh and Stevens and all the Chicago players gunning for a second goal here to really put this one away. And of course, if you're Washington, you still have Hatch in the game. You still have options offensively. And you still have a very good chance to squeak out a point. Elwell off a cross. Doesn't get there. Well, I should say Sharples gets there first. Helferty, you can see her on the touchline right now, down for Washington, and just stretching out. I don't know if it was a cramp or something like that. Remember, it is extremely hot in Washington and humid. It's that time of year. And she's going to tie her cleat and come back in. Staub. Corner. Off Milazzo. Hatch, Feist. Feist is 25, and you still got Sullivan. Elwell just 22. Did take out Harding, who's similar age. What a look there. That's Sonnet blazing in off the set piece. You could hear the reaction from the crowd. Pretty good chance. If somebody was at the back post, that's definitely a goal. It all just happened too fast. Sullivan for Hatch. Bounce around to Nair. Controls at her feet. A little bit scary there. Aguilera. Pugh turns on the Jets. Lubert's just wide. That was pretty from Pugh, and that's the thing, is teams are so worried about her that often, well, first of all, she just beats Rotter straight up. And then Staub. And everyone's so concerned about Pugh that Luber is left in a very good position. Would have been her first NWSL goal if it had hit the back of the net. Feist. Corner. Looked very pretty the last time around for Washington. Let's see what they draw up here.
Your substitution in the 83rd minute. Into the game, number 22.
It appears Amber Brooks will come in for Washington. Helferty, who we saw got a little bit banged up. She'll come out. The service. Sharple's got a head on that one. Back in. Elwell. No clean look for Washington. Watches it roll out. It's going to stay with the Spirit. What a diving play there. Again, Alyssa Nair just takes a risk. It pays off. Might have got clipped in the process. Pugh. So much blue around her. Hill. Hill. Brooks tosses it in. Hatch trying to get the edge. Elwell. Hatch goes down. And we will get a foul call. So this is a great spot for Washington on a free kick. Milazzo is called for that foul. Sharples was there as well. Let's see. No, it was Sharples. Excuse me. Don't want to blame Milazzo for something. All right, Andy Sullivan off the kick. Pugh and Hill right in front of her. Of course, Nair and net. See if Sullivan just goes for it. Where's a back post, crowding in, and it goes through! Staub scores the equalizer. The center back for Washington with the late tally. First goal this year for Staub. Boy, look at that. All the craziness that was created there for Washington on that back post, and it hits a body. It's Staub. Dangerous chance there. Hill gets it back because Elwell might have had a good shot there. And now, of course, 3 points are still up for grabs on either side. Things just became real for Washington. Now, Washington knows what happens late in games. They unfortunately were on the other side of a comeback last week to Orlando, all in stoppage time. All the Pride goals came after the 95th minute. And so maybe trying to emulate that here. Now Solovin behind Hatch. Rodriguez lays her body on the line. Goff keeps it while falling. Feist fights for it. Into the area, Hatch. 3 defenders on her. Creates some separation. Brooks comes up, flings it forward. Elwell with the touch, and it's wide. And credit to Washington. Ward took out Rodman, he took out Sanchez. Took out Harding, who was in the starting lineup and has been for the last couple of games. He put in some younger players, and he said, create, live up to the challenge, and they did. Got the equalizer, still got to finish strong on both sides as this is Rodriguez. Definitely feeling the after effects of that physical play a little bit. I guess it was a couple seconds ago now. Getting stretched out on both legs. This will be an opportunity for both sides to talk things over and for Washington to put in Tanea Alexander. Alexander often plays or comes in as a sub for Washington. Came in last week against Orlando as Rodriguez is down and everybody's getting some hydration, and it appears, what do they call that, goop or goo or whatever it's called? Rodriguez will walk off.
Here's substitution in the 90th minute. Enter the game, number 17.
And it seems like that's going to be the sub. So Alexander will come in to take out Rodriguez, and it seems like Ward is just going to go with a more offensive look to try to get these 3 points. Confirmed 6 minutes of stoppage time here. That's a lot in a tie game, and the way this one has gone. First half was, momentum Chicago is totally switched. And we got a foul way back in the circle. It's going to go against Washington, and we're going to get a card as Cook went down. Sharples, Nagasato. Pugh. Cross. Pugh again. Feist for Washington. Slices it to Hatch. Rotter gets tripped up. Sharples commits a foul. by the way, I just didn't want to say this until confirmed, but Staub was the one that got the yellow card. Does have the goal right now. It's the equalizer at the moment for Washington in the 86th minute. Chicago scored their goal thanks to Ella Stevens way back in the 10th minute of this game. Sonnet, Staub. Alexander, burst of speed. Nice move. Defense collapses. Not a corner, but a corner throw in. Staub. Alexander. Morse up in the air for Chicago. Goff battles for it. Cook. Rotter swipes. Now to Alexander. Head to head with Aguilera. And Aguilera boxes Alexander out. Still time. We've spent a lot of time in this second half in Washington's attacking third. Brooks. Hatch. Hit. Nagasato, Colaprico, both pretty much combined to follow Hatch. Oh, I did it again. Foul Hatch. Jeez. This fatigue's getting to me as well on these midweek games. But Sullivan will set up here on a free kick. The last one went very well for Washington. All right, Andy Sullivan. Too much on that. Nair. Lubert. Pew. Offside. And there's a final whistle in this one. Well, a rematch of the championship game from 2021 was very exciting. Again, Ella Stevens scores first in the 10th minute for Chicago, and Washington takes almost the full 90 to finally get on the board, and Sam Stobb gets the equalizer and gets her team a point with a beautiful header in to get the draw. So Washington continues to just keep tying opponents. They're now 1-4 on the year, 2-1-2 for Chicago. As again, a hard-fought battle between both sides, and I think it's fitting that it ends in a draw. That'll be it for me, Maura Sheridan from Segra Field. Hope you have a great night, everybody.
When you can't watch your favorite team in person, be sure to tune in and watch.